Hey everyone, this is Dylan and you're watching Barn to Paddock, and today I got a special one for you. I'm going to switch it up a little bit from the normal routine. We're going to do a ride review. Now the ride review is going to be a special bike, so it is the CB750 that I spent the last 2 months or so restoring. It's listed for sale. I've got it registered. This is a good opportunity for me to ride the bike, kind of feel it out. And I also, a really exciting opportunity to kind of assess where it stands as far as a motorcycle that you could ride on the road today. Being that it's 50 or so years old, how does it stack up against bikes today? And how does it feel, considering that it's 50 years old? I've been told many times and watched lots of videos about these bikes, and everyone says that they stack up pretty well to the test of time. So I'm going to find out for you today. I'm going to do a little review, what I think about it. We're going to take it for a test drive. And just, kind of just show it off and have some fun with it and talk about the bike. So here we go. We'll see you in a bit.
So for some reason my DJI mic did not pick up the audio, so we're going to do a little bit of a voiceover here. So the first thing that you notice when you hop on a 50-year-old carbureted bike is that it takes a little bit to get them up to temperature, up to perfect running condition. So that's one of the first things that I would talk about or review, is that when you get on something this old, you should probably prepare yourself to have a little bit of a finicky kind of startup process, unless the carbs have been tuned perfectly and it's been a fully restored bike that's been fine-tuned by an expert. The bike will have some variation of carburetor kind of slow warm-up process. It's pretty common on these old bikes. It's one of the things I think gives them character. As long as it idles by itself and there's no dead spots in your rev range or in your throttle range, it's not really much of an issue. It's just something to acknowledge. So when you're talking about how the bike stacks up to modern bikes, obviously it doesn't hold a torch to fuel injection and dynamic or digital mapping. But it is, like I said, this is part of the character of an old bike, and something that I've always really liked about these old carbureted bikes is you get kind of a unique experience on every single one of these carbureted bikes. So that's the first thing. I did notice, one of the first things I noticed with this bike was the riding position. Has a great riding position. It's very upright. The bars were just high and back enough where I was sitting on the bike and felt very comfortable. And it's very much like you're over the bike. Lots of control, in my opinion. And this is where I realized I didn't turn the gas on because it started sputtering. That's another thing with older bikes, and having a petcock is something you constantly forget to either turn on or put to the right setting, unless you're used to it. I drive a fuel injected bike for a daily, so I don't ever have to touch a fuel thing. But yeah, super upright position, super comfortable. The other thing I really love about old Hondas, and this one especially fits the bill, is they always feel so firm. Like the suspension feels really solid. It doesn't really matter like how old and how many miles are on these things. I always feel like I hop on one of these classic Hondas before they had like a lot of the rubber mounted like bars or any other unique approaches to suspension, and they just feel solid. It just feels like such a solid bike. It was very comfortable to ride. I could see myself riding this bike for a long time. It's obviously not the most comfortable bike to take like touring, because you have no windscreen or anything like that, but I can see why people really love these bikes and why they've been so popular, is because even being 50 years old, it feels like such a comfortable, it feels like a modern standard bike, or even a little bit like a cruiser. It just feels very comfortable. So I can see why someone would be excited to ride this. And realistically, the biggest part of the charm for me is the 4-cylinder. I mean, it's so cool to like have it's not fast by any means, but for 1974, this thing was probably a ripper. So, by those standards, it is a really fun, fast bike. But it is so cool to kind of have that like 4-cylinder scream, like a classic 4-cylinder scream on a bike this old. It's just, that's part of such a unique experience, in my opinion. That's what makes this bike really cool. And I try to imagine what it would have been like in 1970 or 1969 when the first model was released in 1970, like going to a dealership and seeing a big old 4-cylinder engine like this, and then taking it for a test drive and realizing like what kind of potential like this chassis and this engine configuration would have, like thinking to the future. So that's a really cool thing about this bike, is it's like thinking about like what this blueprint really actually did for motorcycling is one of the coolest parts about these bikes. So but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I would highly recommend anybody check out these old 4-cylinders. I did have a GS 550L for a while, which is the 4-cylinder 550 from Suzuki. It's slow as hell, but it's so cool. It's such a cool concept, that they were throwing 4-cylinders in like a cruiser at the time. It's just wild to me. So it's a lot of fun, definitely worth the experience. Makes part of it just makes the ride a little bit more exciting. So that's a cool part there. In terms of like how it stacks up, engine wise and reliability wise today, I'm of the belief that anything this old, especially anything like complex, like a 4-cylinder in a 70s bike, it's not going to be as reliable probably as modern stuff. But I think that goes to say for like all the bikes that are like 30 to 40, 50 years old. You're going to have stuff come up. You're going to take it for a ride. You're going to feel something, interesting. You're going to hear something, unless the bike's been fully restored by a professional shop, you're going to have stuff that comes up. You're going to be fixing the bike, intermittently as you ride it. And for me, that's part of the experience, and I'm okay with that. But if you are the type that is not willing to put, your own sweat equity or, wrenching on your own bike, then this might not be a good option for you, or other 30, 40-year-old, 50-year-old bikes might not be a good option. But that is something to think about when you're buying an old bike like this. I've said it a few times, and I'll probably say it again, but part of the charm of riding an old bike is knowing that it's not perfect, and that you're gonna have to work on it a little bit. And it's kind of for me, it's a bit of a fun flex. When you're riding a bike like this, you can ride it and fix it. It's kind of a fun flex, and I think a lot of people that don't have mechanical ability, or it's kind of a fun thing for them to be like, oh my god, you ride this 50-year-old bike around, like that's crazy, So it's a cool thing. I think it gives you a little bit of it gives you a little street cred. It's a lot of fun riding something like this. Whenever I see old bikes on the road, where I work, there's a kid that rides one of the CB354s around. I've seen it a couple times, and I'm instantly like, dude, you're cool. So it's really cool riding old stuff for that reason. I think people really appreciate seeing these bikes on the road. But yeah, that's a cool feature. Speed, performance, obviously it's not going to match up today to like today's modern, even like parallel twins and stuff. A lot of the parallel twin 270 stuff is pretty competitive in its class. So, today it's not going to be the fastest bike, but it is capable. It's very capable. It'll pick up and go pretty much anywhere. It has a decent top speed. I think it's, somewhere around like 130, which is, super fast for 70s bike. So yeah, really capable, but not fast. But I'm at the age now where I've really kind of, I think Kiemi Noob was talking about it the other day, like getting to the point where the speed part of this doesn't really matter as much anymore. This for me is more like, getting some sort of satisfaction or enjoyment out of just riding the bike, being able to ride the bike. There's a lot of people, I know a lot of people that have kids and have been either forced to or have thought to, sell the bike. And I'm not there yet. I don't think I will anytime soon. I've been on motorcycles since I was very young. My dad rode motorcycles throughout my life, even when we were, young kids. So I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I'm a huge fan. I'm a big motorcycle lifestyle guy. So I don't see myself. It's part of my lifestyle and my soul at this point. So don't see myself moving away from that anytime soon. So I get satisfaction out of just being able to ride and have a good time. all in all. But yeah, and so it doesn't really stack up speed and performance wise in terms of like, you know, your average bike that you could buy today. But man, like I said, the cool factor, the unique factor, I think is what puts it over the edge in terms of like, you know, better than the all of the standard kind of cookie cutter parallel twin stuff today. In my opinion, you know, there's some really cool stuff out there. It's very innovative, but it's not exciting. It's not different. You know, they're all kind of just they're trying to make the most efficient, you know, parallel twin with, you know, power, performance, but also reliability. And I mean, that's cool, but that's not, you know, it's not exciting. This thing has a level of excitement. The transmissions in these things are always seemingly are just like really good transmissions. That's all I'll say. They shift well. It feels good. Everything clicks into place, and that's really, you know, obviously it's not a completely, it's not a complex technology, but it's obviously like something that, you know, you think about this being a 50-year-old bike with 26,000 miles on it, and it just, you know, it feels perfect. It shifts well, goes down the road good. Everything feels solid. There was no shakes, no wobbles. You know, I put air in the tires. The front tire's been slow leaking, but this thing, you know, I filled it up and it rides really good. Really excited about that. So I really hope the next owner of this bike loves this thing as much as I do. It's been a lot of fun to restore it. It's been even more fun getting to ride it around like this. This is, you know, for me, this is awesome because I didn't know kind of what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to, you know, just get it running and ready and not register it and, you know, just wait for someone to buy it. But I figure I was going to, you know, for me, it's actually a lot better if I can ride the bike, because then I can give my full honest review to the next buyer about like what's going on with the bike, how it feels, like anything I notice, anything I hear. I try to be as upfront and honest with my sales as possible. You know, I noticed like there was like a little squeak coming from the front when I rode it around the stretch. So, you know, that's something I can tell the new owner, like, hey, just so you know, I heard this. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it might be a good place for you to like, you know, start checking stuff out if you're looking to like, you know, add a couple of your own improvements or repairs. But ultimately it goes down the road great. Honestly, for, like I said, for just restoring this thing from sitting in a barn for 50 years, getting the brakes back sorted and everything like that, it runs, rides, and stops. And I think that's pretty much all you can ask for with something like this. So that's really exciting. Being an air-cooled bike, you know, I wasn't sure how it was going to feel in terms of getting hot, but really this thing manages heat really well. I didn't ever feel like my leg was getting super hot. I'm sure if I'd ridden it a lot longer, it would have been a little bit different. But ultimately, the air-cooled part doesn't seem to hinder this bike at all. You know, most old Hondas of this vintage before about like the 80s, late 70s, 80s were they were air-cooled. So water cooling didn't really come into the picture until the late 70s, early 80s for for like a mainstream use. But this thing feels really capable and doesn't feel like it gets too hot or anything like that. So in terms of practicality, you know, things like fuel economy, comfort, power, and, you know, passing power, I guess is what I would say. You know, is this thing daily drivable? I would say yes. I would drive this thing daily. I would let me preface this. If I didn't have to depend on it to get me to work, I would drive it, you know, daily. I would take it out, take it for a rip, try to enjoy something like this. I don't know if I would really count on any bike like this to get me to work every day of the week. I wouldn't sell my car and drive this, but I wouldn't do that for a lot of bikes. But this is absolutely a great bike if you're looking for something that you can ride every once in a while. You know, maybe go to work one day a week and hope that, you know, you can make it there. You know, and I'm not trying to, you know, beat up on the bike too bad. It's just anytime you put you know, your commute to work in the hands of a 50-year-old thing, whether it's a car or a motorcycle, you know, you're kind of chancing that something will break or go wrong. I mean, you got to remember that a lot of these parts and these components are 50 years old. So, you know, things break, things start to wear out. It's not uncommon for things to just go bad. So there's two things with that, is that, you know, you have to be ready to spend the money or pay someone to fix it, or you have to be ready to do the work yourself. And doing the work yourself, sometimes you can do it on the fly. There's a lot of ways with bikes that you can kind of fix something on the fly if you have a toolkit, or something like that. So that's something to consider as well if you were going to ride something like this, is to carry a little toolkit with you, and see if it's something fixable. But that is just something that, to think about. I wouldn't say that you couldn't daily ride this bike. I think you could, if you had a little bit of mechanical skill and you weren't afraid of, breaking down here and there. You could absolutely get away with riding this thing and it'd be great. One of the advantages of these old 70s bikes too is, like, if you have an issue with the battery, if something like that comes up, there is a kickstart, which is nice. So you could always kickstart it. If I've had bikes in the past before where the stator goes bad and stops charging the alternator, your battery dies, you're in a parking lot and getting ready to leave, and you realize you have no battery and you don't have a kickstart, so you have to jump start the bike, which can be a huge pain in the ass depending if whether or not you're near a hill or a flat open parking lot. So that's a cool advantage. There's some advantages to the older bikes, but this thing is, it's really cool. The cool factor is crazy cool, but you do have to consider some of the negatives of riding something that's 50 years old. Otherwise, I give this thing a huge thumbs up. Super happy I was able to restore it. Also super happy that I was able to get this thing plated and registered and give it a ride before I sell it to its next owner. So if you're interested in this bike, let me know in the comments what you would pay for something like this. What is a bike like this worth to you as a consumer? I have it listed currently right now on eBay. I'll post a link in the description. On eBay, I have it listed at $5,000 or best offer. My experience with what I've seen for these bikes, what they've been selling for, from Facebook Marketplace all the way to eBay, and then all the way up to Bring a Trailer, so that the range can be anywhere from like $2,000 for one that's like a barn find that is in all in one piece, to the average price, which I'm seeing is anywhere from like $3,750 to like $5,000. And that's for like similar to this, like road warrior type bikes, and or like partially restored, which is what I would consider this bike, all the way up to the fully restored, like perfect condition, well, pretty perfect condition, and those bikes are selling anywhere from like $8,000 to like $12,000 or more, depending on whether or not it's Bring a Trailer or not. So let me know in the comments what you think this bike is worth, and let me know in your comment what your experience is with an older CB750 like this, if you have one. What do you think of the bike? Would you daily drive it? Do you daily drive it? I'm sure a lot of people out there daily drive these things because it's a great bike. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about the CB750. Otherwise, it's been a blast. I really enjoyed working on this bike and sharing this experience with everyone on YouTube, and I'm really looking forward to getting tearing into the CB350. So anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.